broken this piece of ice because I guess this is the fight you wanted.
It's not the fight I want.
Yeah, it is.
But if we're
Because
talking
when
about character, if we're talking about these
things... Are you
things...
questioning my character?
I'm not
No,
questioning your character. I'm talking about...
Okay.
You're questioning my father's character.
From Meghan McCain's utter disregard for others to Whoopi Goldberg's intense lash-outs, these are the 15 most heated moments recorded on The View.
Well, is he deaf? He must be deaf. He says he hasn't heard it. We all heard it. He's
Again,
deaf.
I think the point of the show is that every panelist on the show sort of lives in a different world and has a different view. That's the whole point of the show. I also live, in Virginia, 5 miles away from Trump MAGA hat people everywhere.
Okay,
And
so wait, can I just say one thing? What about the Constitution? Isn't that the bottom line? Let me finish.
Backing someone as insufferable as Joy Behar is no easy task, but Meghan McCain makes it happen. She seems to forget she's not the only one at the table. There are other panelists with their own opinions to push. Not that they're any better.
Let me finish.
I have a copy of the Constitution on my nightstand.
Good.
So please don't talk to me about the Constitution.
Well, the Constitution belongs to all of us, whether we
I
have it on
know,
our
but I'm just
nightstand
saying
or
it's
not.
very important to most conservatives.
Okay, but in the Constitution, you can correct me.
should be important to all Americans.
I believe bribery is listed as one of the impeachable offenses by the founding fathers.
It's enumerated.
She actually thinks keeping a copy of the Constitution on her nightstand makes her an expert. That alone tells you everything about the level of argument we're dealing with. Joy Behar absolutely wrecked Meghan McCain here. Newsflash, owning a copy of the Constitution doesn't make you its sole guardian. It belongs to all of us, nightstand or not.
People that, as Anna mentioned, have served our country, someone who has a Purple Heart. And I will also say that it tells me that he is complicit. The Republican Party has enabled this president, continues to enable this president. It is very fair.
It's totally
It is very
fair.
accurate.
You're slandering
And
the CIA.
he is complicit. I don't know if it's about a political future. I don't know what it is about, but it is about...
Let's not forget how Meghan McCain demands her turn to speak, but is always the first to shout everyone else down. The hypocrisy writes itself.
Trump reelected. And it's about the fact that he heard evidence clear and simple. And for him to sit there and say that evidence has to be overwhelming and that he heard no overwhelming evidence, I want to know which hearings he was sitting at.
So for what I have to say is it's easy to get a cheap applause line here. It just is. And that's fine. Take your cheap applause line. But I, for one, will heard.
Maybe they agree.
Let me speak.
You've been speaking a lot.
I thank you.
Everyone at that table knows Meghan's coming for them sooner or later. You either fight back and defend your stance or tiptoe through the conversation like you're walking on hot coals, because McCain doesn't like anyone speaking other than herself. And here's another example.
I think you and Beto are going to go into red states and go to my brother's house and get his AR-15s, because let me tell you, he's not giving it back.
So my point is this, and I'm not where Beto is in the way he's been talking about this issue.
Good, because he's crazy.
Well, again, we should watch the way we talk about each other. Seriously, we can't tear the character of people down. We have different beliefs.
He has no problem doing it to me.
Yeah,
I mean, he was very nasty to me about this.
But you and I both know that just because somebody does something to us doesn't mean we show the same energy back to them.
I'm not running for president, with all due respect. And also, the way he talked about me inciting violence on this, I take very seriously, and I speak for a lot of red state Americans. Whether he likes it or you like it or not, there's a lot of Republicans you're going to have to win over.
This is the so-called host of The View, who has no respect for others as she hijacks the conversation to talk about her opinions. What could have been a civil discussion about loose ammunition policies turned hostile when she lost her composure against a topic she triggered. And that's quite normal for the self-entitled Meghan McCain, who has even tried to shut down none other than Whoopi Goldberg.
I don't break your heart like he always does.
I am 63 years old. I have been going through this with these people for years. I am simply saying...
I'm 35 years old.
Yes, and you're half my age. So hear what I know.
I don't know what that
Hear what I know.
That's very dismissive. That's very dismissive.
It is a bit dismissive
but I don't understand
because
what my age has to do with my political perspective right now.
Well, I'm trying to tell you that I have...
I just don't think it's very nice.
I'm not trying to be crappy. I'm just saying to you.
You know what? I knew when I came on here and didn't like Romney, I knew it was
Can I just say one thing about
let me finish this. This has nothing to do personally with you.
It's really applaudable how Whoopi Goldberg actually kept her cool, even as Meghan got nastier. And that's surprising considering the debate was about who should be in power. Longtime viewers know nothing sets Whoopi off more than someone telling her how to vote. even though she has no problem forcing her own views on everyone else. But this time, she bit her tongue and played it calm. Shocking, right? But even Whoopi can't keep her cool in some scenarios, and here's an example.
She's talking about lowering the discourse to his level, which is horrible for this country. Even if people are working, we don't want to have a country like that. Do you understand
We've
that?
all
They
done
don't like
things.
the vessel or the semantics of
Wait.
the tweet, but nevertheless, look at the results.
We've all done things that we regret. I mean, if we're talking about bringing a discourse down, Joy, you've worn blackface. Whoopi,
No,
you
I
said
haven't.
that
I'm
Roman
sorry,
Polanski.
not.
I'm sorry, and don't. If
You
you
said
do
that
it,
Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape when he raped a child. So let's
okay.
talk about
So
serious
let's
things.
talk
Come on,
about
that's
this. So
not
you
fair.
want to bring this up? The question came up.
I did not go in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
Sorry. Listen, being black, I recognize blackface. This I can say. Okay? I know.
Republican on The View is already an expected clash. But Donald Trump Jr.? This interview was a ticking time bomb from the start. And Whoopi's reaction? Exactly what you'd expect.
Now that you've broken this piece of ice, because I guess this is the fight you wanted.
It's not the fight I
Yeah,
want.
it is.
But if we're
Because
talking
when
about character, if we're
because
talking
when-
about these
Are you
things.
questioning my character?
I'm not
No.
questioning your character. I'm talking about you're
Okay.
questioning my father's character.
I'm
and
not,
I say
I'm
we all
sorry.
have done
I didn't
and said
question
things.
anybody. I simply said that when you're talking about that your father's taken more heat than anybody else, that it's not so. Instead,
As a president?
and when, yes,
Come
as a
on.
president,
It's
yes.
ridiculous.
He's getting crushed every day.
I think,
He's
I
a
think the Central Park
president.
Five took a lot more heat than your father has taken at his hand.
And by the way,
Name a president who's taken more heat than my
Everybody
father.
stop. Hold
record
up.
criminal
Hold
justice
up.
reform
Hold
versus
up.
attack. President Trump.
We'll be right.
Well, that argument spiraled out of control fast. And no surprise there. Sure, Trump Jr. was reaching when he tried to paint criticism as attacks on his family. But the way he was cornered and cut off every time he spoke? That wasn't a debate. That was an ambush. Lucky for him, Ana Navarro wasn't on the panel that day. Because let's be honest, Navarro and Republicans go together like oil and water.
Legitimate
Yes,
for
for her
Republicans
it
to win.
was.
She called Donald Trump
that's
the
her
next
opinion.
morning and she
Yeah.
conceded the election, Ted.
Okay,
Took the
look,
call. As did Stacey Abrams.
all right.
Sonny has the question.
She sat there while Donald Trump
Hillary
was getting
Clinton
sworn
says
in.
Trump is an illegitimate
Two wrongs
president.
don't
Hillary
make a
Clinton
right.
says the election is stolen from you. Hillary Clinton in 2002, George W. Bush was selected,
all
not
your
elected.
paperwork.
Joe Biden, Al Gore was elected president. So Joe Biden
You
claims
just say
George
we
W.
don't
Bush
scream
was
at each
illegitimate.
other, right? Or is it just you that gets to scream?
Okay, no, I agree.
Okay, then lower your voice because we are very close to each other.
but
and
Anna,
I know you
but-
come here to sell a book and try to pick a fight, but we're not going to do it today.
But Anna, then address.
We wouldn't call that screaming, would we? A little loud maybe, but definitely to make a point. Ted Cruz was prepared to prove her point about how Trump's not the only one who raised objections on the elections, because surprise, surprise, Hillary Clinton, a close friend of the ladies of The View, had also made comments about the electorate when it didn't go in their favor. That good reasoning could only have been shot down by Navarro because she possibly didn't have a logical counter there. And speaking of these women being pro-Hillary supporters back in the day, we have this.
Well, look, the facts are important, and we'll get to that. I want to start with something that I think is also important about facts, because recently on your show here...
I was just going to get to that.
Good. Helping you out.
You want me to ask you the question?
No, look, some of you have accused me of being a traitor to my country, a Russian asset, a Trojan horse, or a
We haven't accused you.
useful idiot, I think was the
Well,
term that you
useful.
used. Which basically means that I'm naive or lack
That's a
intelligence
Russian
to
term.
know what's going
They
on.
use that.
Remember when Tulsi Gabbard got dragged through the mud, called all sorts of names, even a traitor, by Hillary and her cheerleaders just for daring to oppose endless wars? Clinton, the so-called queen of warmongers, wasn't too happy about Tulsi's isolationist stance. Well, their feud didn't just fade away, and the Clinton fangirl Joy Behar took a heavy swing against Tulsi, throwing out the same venomous insults.
You and other people continue to spread these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am.
Well, Hillary
that have
Clinton
nothing to
started
do
it,
with
and then
who
you
I
shot
am.
back at her, boy. You called her the queen of
You
warmongers.
doubled down, unfortunately, you doubled down on the baseless accusations that she made that strikes at the core of who I am.
Oh, if Hillary lit the fire, you just knew Joy Behar was going to fan the flames, didn't you? Someone should have reminded her that the point was to let Tulsi speak and clarify her stance, not to double down on the hostility and turn the whole thing into a circus.
It's offensive to me as a soldier, as an American, as a member of Congress, as a veteran, and frankly, as a woman, to be so demeaned in
But you
such
called
a way.
her the personification of rock.
So demeaned
She's a woman
in such
too.
a way. Well, I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police around the world, that has waged wars costing the lives of thousands of my brothers and sisters in uniform. I'm speaking out against that, and
What's
to
your evidence
change
to that?
to change.
Well, can I?
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
Are you serious?
Let's hear it.
Seriously? She needs proof? That's not just ignorance. That's an insult to our fallen brothers and sisters, and to the war veterans who were lied to and sent off to fight wars waged for the establishment's own gain. Time has made it painfully clear how much the U.S. could have saved, lives, money, and dignity, if it had just stayed out of wars that were never ours to fight.
Exactly.
She's a
I served
warmonger. How do
in
you
the
come
war
up with
in
that?
Iraq
Yeah.
that she championed. She championed a regime change
Did
war
you not
in
believe
Libya.
in that war?
I believe the lies that were told to us.
Well, so did she.
So it is indisputable. It is indisputable to say anything other than the fact that Hillary. Let me just close this out. That Hillary Clinton, throughout her career, has led with a foreign policy of interventionism and being the world's police, going and toppling dictators in other countries that has caused such destruction and loss of life. I'm against that.
Tulsi Gabbard absolutely annihilated Joy Behar without even breaking a sweat. Meanwhile, Joy threw one of her usual obnoxious tantrums, spewing baseless rants that held zero weight. But let's be real. Why would Joy Behar understand the cost of interventionism? She's too busy parroting far-left talking points from the comfort of her cozy little echo chamber. And that's the case with every single one of them, including Sonny Hostin.
But Senator, we're here now, though. But we're here.
Yeah. We're not really here. We got 50 people. We're not
here.
doing
Yeah,
anything.
but frankly,
50 people
hold on,
is very
hold on.
symbolic,
Hold on.
and that is why
Yeah,
it
and
kept
you tell their parents
Turkey
that.
from invading.
You tell their parents
Isn't that true?
You tell the parents of those 50 kids how great the symbolism was when a suicide bomber blows up all 50
But
kids.
didn't it
You
keep
tell them
Turkey
why-
from
no,
invading?
No,
And
I'm not.
pulling them
No, no.
gave
You tell
Turkey
their
the
parents.
green light.
You tell their
Isn't
parents
that
why
true?
they're there.
But
You
isn't
tell-
that true?
You tell their parents why
Isn't
they're
it
there.
true that Turkey
You
Senator,
tell
not
them-
invading us? We have
How do you feel about
Talk about ignorance. Rand Paul probably regretted stepping onto this show the moment he realized he'd be debating foreign policy with, of all people, Sonny Hostin and Abby Huntsman. Let's be honest. The last thing anyone needs is a foreign policy lecture from them.
fighters? As being reported, thousands are going to escape from these prisons because the Kurds can't protect
Well, no,
themselves.
that
Up to
is
70,000, according to a NATO official.
What's the people who don't like the
Is that a
policy?
safer world with
That's the
ISIS
people,
running around?
That's the people who want to stay forever. These are the same people.
I don't want to stay forever,
let
but
me
isn't
finish
there a
answering the
strategy?
question, okay? I let you talk. You let me talk. These are the same people. These are the same people that would still have us in Vietnam. These are the same people who always say, "Stay at war, stay at war, stay at war." It has not helped us.
How can they call it The View when they refuse to let anyone else have one? It's the same routine, heckling, ganging up, and shutting down anyone who disagrees. Honestly, they should rename it The Wrong View. And if you need proof, just watch Ana Navarro do what she does best.
There's no mission, and I'm not
Walking
sending
out on
one more
people, but
kid.
there's more
I'm not
questions.
voting to
How about
send
the
one
idea
more
of
kid to
breaking-
Afghanistan.
breaking our word as Americans, of breaking our words to our allies, of having people who've risked their lives, who've been there for years. And what message does that send internationally to other allies if we abandon them?
I think the only duty we owe and the only oath I take is to the Constitution. I didn't promise to take the country to war. I promised not to take the country to war. So did President Trump, by the way.
No message to our allies, no message to our enemies, just empty virtue signaling. And if we're always there for everyone else, who's there for us? It's our soldiers who die, not theirs. But people like Ana Navarro and Sonny Hostin sit in their cushy studios preaching their feel-good nonsense, pretending the sacrifices mean nothing, all for political gain and a false sense of moral superiority.
I don't like either.
How close is too close for Iran to be near Israel? Because this now creates a huge vacuum where Iran wants to take over Damascus, which is what they're now going to be capable of doing, and they're going to be that much closer to Israel, which is in fact one of our closest allies. Does that concern you at all?
I think the whole situation is so confusing that none of us are really getting this right. Actually, Turkey doesn't want Iran to take over everything. Israel doesn't want Iran to take over everything. And in fact, Israel actually stands up for themselves all the time.
may end up being in a bigger
Let me
war
finish.
because
Let me
of
finish. Don't interrupt. So Iran gets
Hold
up
on.
against
I'm
the border.
sorry, Senator.
So
I am interrupting because
Iran comes up
you're
against
gonna
the border,
stick.
and Israel
We'll be
pushes
right
it
back.
back.
He absolutely mopped the floor with them. And of course, they wouldn't let him speak. Classic. No wonder Whoopi had to jump in and cut him off. But sometimes even Whoopi can't interrupt, especially when they decide to go against each other.
Why can't they go after her the way they should? Why, it just comes from one side to be obnoxious?
The problem is if one goes scorched earth to the floor and the other meets them there, our politics is just going to descend.
I think you
you could see it in
going high doesn't work anymore. If you go low with me, I'm going to go to the Earth's crust.
But that's all we're going to get.
I'm going to meet you where you are.
The genius in Crockett's response was, though, they had ruled against her, and she was saying, so let me know where the line is.
And she went lower.
And to me, that was a good way of showcasing the absurdity and hypocrisy of that rule in this instance. I do understand in general what you're saying.
You got to go low, Alyssa. You got to go low.
Here we go again. Sunny Hostin and Alyssa Farah Griffin locked horns over the chaos in Congress, Hostin calling it a leadership failure, while Griffin stubbornly defended her party. The tension kept rising until Whoopi Goldberg, playing referee as usual, stepped in to stop it from boiling over. But what happens when Whoopi Goldberg herself ends up losing her cool? Let's find out.
Agreement that they could not go into Crimea, so those were consequences, and that means we won't sit down at a table. We will push back on you, Russia. And that's so. I'm just curious if that's.
And what did Barack Obama do?
But
it doesn't matter. His watch.
Barack Obama is no longer president. How much longer are we going to be rehashing this?
Let's be real. This was never a fair fight. Jeanine Pirro, a hardcore Trump supporter, up against a panel of die-hard Trump haters? Yeah, this was doomed from the start. And sure enough, it went off the rails fast.
Problems with meddling and this whole Russian investigation is there are two issues. Number one, was there meddling? Everybody agrees there was meddling. Donald Trump agrees there was meddling. Although Barack Obama said about a month before the election, there's no way anyone could meddle in the election. There can't be a rigged election.
Do remember that your friend also was made aware of the meddling.
Gotta love the irony. Whoopi lays down the rule that no one should interrupt, then spends the whole time cutting off Jeanine Pirro herself. Classic.
Here's my question for you. Here's my question for you, because you talk about you talk about.
I am not, Judge.
Nobody is.
Oh, yeah.
Did you just point at me?
Yes.
Listen, I don't have Trump derangement. Let me tell you what I have.
Okay.
I have a lot of. I'm tired of people starting a conversation with Mexicans or liars and rapists. I'm tired of people starting a conversation about this country. Listen.
And this is where it all went downhill. Whoopi completely lost it and went off on Jeanine Pirro.
And clearly you don't watch the show, so you don't know that I don't suffer from that. What I suffer from is the inability to figure out how to fix this. That's my issue. But one of the things that you talk about a lot, and I'm curious about it, is the deep state. How long has the deep state been there, and who's running it?
Well, I want to answer your question because you had
you a question.
You had your opening statement, which was how horrible it is that Donald Trump is talking about
that's
all
what you,
of these
I'm
people.
Sorry,
you know
baby,
what
that's
I think
what you
is horrible?
said. You said,
Whoopi, you know what's horrible?
That
when
it
people
was,
who
it's
shouldn't
okay.
be here end up murdering the children of American citizens.
You know what's horrible? When the president of the United States whips up people to beat the hell out of people.
No.
Say goodbye.
Let me buy.
Thank you to Judge Jeanine Pirro. Her book, Liars, Cheaters, and Liberals is out now.
Whoopi having different opinions than Pirro was expected, but inviting a guest only to completely lose it on her, that says a lot. She had no problem pushing her own narratives, but the moment Pirro fired back, suddenly she couldn't handle it. Some host she is. And talking about top-notch hosting, we have McCain back in the competition.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the administration, the people who are actually impacted by this, the people who sent out Rudy Giuliani.
All Americans are impacted by this.
You know what I'm talking about? The administration. I'm talking about sending Rudy Giuliani out to distract us. I'm talking about telling us yesterday that, I don't know, Stephen Miller is actually dating a human being, not an inflatable.
I don't know what that means.
But I don't know what that means. But it's an attempt at humor.
This debate was already on fire, but the second Meghan McCain jumped in, it hit a whole new level. Why? Because, as always, she brought nothing but volume and drama.
Excuse me, maybe I was clumsy in the way that I said it.
I'm 2 feet away. I don't need you to scream at me this way.
Abby was, I don't know what you just said. But
I said don't scream at me. I'm 2 feet away.
She actually got up and stormed off like a child after throwing a tantrum. She's always had a knack for leaving everyone hanging mid-chaos. You could see the tension boiling over, and honestly, the show got better the moment she walked out. Speaking of on-screen disasters, who could forget Kelly Osbourne's cringeworthy cameo as a guest host? Now that was a mess.
Those comments, those racist comments, do not help. And if you kick every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that, you know what I mean? Like when I'm saying
there's more jobs to be
in LA, they always
but
they don't.
Latinos are not.
She did not say that on live TV. That was definitely not a good comeback by the guest host. No wonder she was not called often after this slip of the tongue. But the next moment really takes us back in time.
Iraq attack us.
No, I'm saying Al Qaeda.
Okay, did Iraq attack us, Elizabeth?
Iraq did not attack us,
Correct.
Rosie. We've been there before.
Well,
I'm saying our enemies, Al Qaeda. Are you hearing that?
I hear it, but where do you want to go, Bub?
We're going to political discussion with that. Don't interview each other. Just
if
say what you
you're
mean.
playing a game, okay? If you're playing a game, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to throw to my wide receiver, wide right, okay? Do you do that? I'm going to do it in 2 seconds. What does that do for your enemy?
Well, you know what, Elizabeth? If the enemy are innocent civilians, I don't want to play that kind of football.
The enemy are not innocent
Iraq
civilians.
didn't attack us!
I am not saying innocent civilians are the enemy.
Someone needs to remind the ladies of The View that discussing military tensions doesn't mean they have to act like they're in one. Even Joy Behar looked rattled by the sheer rage flying across the table.
No, let me tell you why I don't want to do it. Because here's how it gets spun in the media. Rosie, big, fat, lesbian, loud Rosie, attacks innocent, pure Christian Elizabeth. And I'm not doing it for the rest of the
I'm not doing it. I haven't heard that line. Listen, I think that's unfair.
You should watch some of the shows that, you know, you don't watch.
You accused me of watching all of those shows yesterday.
I'm okay arguing with Elizabeth.
You're just as sensitive when I'm hurt as I am when you were.
Yes.
Every time you've been hurt, did I reach out to you?
Why is this personal? There's a war going on out there.
That's why I like watching Dancing with the Stars.
Speaking in a normal tone like a sensible person? Now that would be a shocker. But let's be real. The View thrives on chaos. And if the hosts actually worked on their attitude, what would be left of the show? And speaking of attitude, arrogance, and a whole lot of ignorance, enter the all-knowing Sunny Hostin.
He plans to question the entire science of vaccines. We know that vaccines work. We know that vaccines save lives. We know that our children
Let me just jump in on one
them.
thing, Sunny, because I understand what you're saying about Western medicine, but there are Eastern traditions that are thousands of years old. I have a Chinese Western-trained doctor who has pointed out where the Western medicine gets it wrong.
Right.
We live in a country where crap is put in our food that makes us sick, and then pharmaceuticals come in and throw pills at it. So we're living in a cycle where it feeds the corporate greed to keep us not well.
I'm not against Eastern medicine, but I've been married to a Western medicine doctor for 26 years, and I trust him over anybody else telling me that what's making people have certain ailments, or if I need a knee replacement, I should just put maybe some kind of like herbal patch on it.
With the RFK, like he's.
You know, Sunny Hostin might not call it a day until she clashes with one or more peers on the show.
He's gonna come up against the state-of-the-art best doctors in America. Many of them are careers at HHS. That's somewhere that Dr. Fauci served for many years.
Dr. Fauci has a real medical
He's
degree.
gonna get pushback on this. This idea that he's gonna come in with no medical degree and just take vaccines off the shelves. There are experts there who are gonna challenge him on some of those things.
Good thing Alyssa Griffin sensed the growing tension and steered the conversation away. Otherwise, we might have witnessed another on-air brawl. But let's not forget, even she can turn into a verbal wrecking ball when she wants to, especially when she's clashing with Sunny Hostin, as always.
He also was a parrot for Trump.
Don't make this personal. Let's hear.
He
spearheaded the Trump.
Sunny likes to make it personal with me, so we'll just. Are you going to give me a chance to answer?
Speaking the truth, spearheading Trump's COVID-19 agenda of downplaying the virus.
Well, this is not what the show is about. This is Barbara Walters' legacy.
It's
Let a woman
view.
speak.
It's
everybody's view. No, it's Sunny Hostin's view.
And Pence did not quarantine.
Well, you asked her
Pence
not-
did not
you
quarantine
didn't have to defend.
himself.
You said, why would someone vote
Are
for
you just going to keep
Yes.
going, or am I going to get
Yes,
The View has basically turned into a staged brawl. Two people go at it while another plays the reluctant referee, trying to keep the chaos in check.
Answer my question. You know what? I kind of feel like I need to go to break right now.
let me.
No.
Maybe.
No, she's ready to answer the question. Because I can't hear anybody saying anything.
It's hard when you're being interrupted.
I know. So maybe we need to just figure out how we do this again. Let's have this break and let's figure out how we're going to make this work. We'll be right back.
By the way, could someone please hand over Joy Behar a bag of popcorn because she seems to enjoy this fight too much?
That's the challenge she's going to face. You've got someone else running in that lane who's effective.
Talk about Pence now.
What do you think?
Go ahead.
I hope so. So what I was saying about Pence was, you know, there have been people that have worked for him, so I won't make it personal, that don't seem to be able to stand up and say, you should vote for this man. And
well, okay, that's actually not true. So, okay.
Well, that is true. And I think...
Now, that's definitely not the first time the two hosts have gotten into a heated argument.
I'm not making this up. This has been studied. In 2020, a 2020 study found that only about half of states with voucher programs require teachers to have a bachelor's degree, require teachers to have training, require teachers to have licensing, require participating in private schools.
If I may get in, just to make it a conversation.
But because I have children and because I looked at
I went to public school. I believe you got to go to private school.
There is zero statistical significance.
Sunny Hostin really can't let anyone other than herself speak, right?
Nobody can figure out what's being said here right now. No, there is no last thing right now. We're going to go to break, and then we're going to come back.
Yes.
Because you can't. What's happening is no one can hear anything anyone is saying. So everybody has to
on it so we can talk.
Well,
that
you know,
goes for you too. My
that's
the word, and she's been talking.
We'll
for
be right
3
back.
minutes.
Here at the table.
Yes.
And we're having a conversation.
Yes.
And we're going to go back to it. But before we do, I just want to say, this is the beauty of people who have different opinions. Sometimes it's messy. We're going to go back to the convo that we were having.
Whoopi playing peacemaker again? Funny how she suddenly remembers the rules when she's not the one in the shouting match.
Everybody just take a breath, because now it's becoming hard to...
I'm sorry, but people...
Hold on, let me just finish what I'm saying so that I can just say, everybody has something to say at the table. We really do want to hear from everybody, but we're starting to do that thing.
Right.
And so I
don't know what that means, this thing.
It means you're talking over each other. It is The View. You know what? Let me tell you something about The View. This show has always had the ability to have different points of view, which we respect around the table. You hold up because we're not hearing each other. I'm not trying to cut you off. I'm trying to get you heard.
I don't think you're trying to cut me off, but
no, but that's what I'm doing. Yeah, but that's what you're doing right now. We'll be back.
Whoopi Goldberg lecturing others on respect and ethics? Now that's rich. The irony here is almost too strong to ignore, especially coming from someone who's been suspended more than once for her own reckless mouth.